Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Rejuvenate Edition 3. We've got two previous speakers that were with us today earlier, and it was a fantastic conversation. And we will continue this fantastic conversation with Lee Jia-Ping here, who is based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia at the moment. She is the chairperson of Placemaking Malaysia. Jia-Ping, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Andrew.
Fantastic. I hope you have had your lunch and you're ready to hit the show.
Yes, and I made the dreaded mistake of eating nasi lemak, but thank God I did it early, so I've got my energy back.
Fantastic. So Jia-Ping, like I mentioned, is the chairperson of Placemaking Malaysia. We will find out a little bit more in terms of what that entails in terms of her work. But Jia-Ping, I really want to leave it to you to do that introduction and let our audiences here in Malaysia and around the world know who you are and what do you do. So perhaps you can share a little bit of your journey with us.
Sure. So I grew up in Kuala Lumpur, and I went to the school that is no more, called the Bukit Bintang Girls' School. And I think there is a huge alumni that of notable people notable women who have achieved very, very amazing things in the world, scientifically, as well as on other notes. So I went to school there, and after school, I went over to Australia and went to boarding school, did a Bachelor of Arts in Melbourne University, and I loved Australia, except for the weather. Melbourne is quite harsh. So I was actually very glad to come home, because I'm not a person that's very, that loves the cold climate. And so when I got back, I basically started in an advertising agency that unfortunately is no more. It was a local agency. It was doing quite well at the time. And I realized very quickly that I didn't like advertising, because I wasn't involved in the creative process. At that particular firm, it was very clearly, the suits, which is the account servicing team, just did account servicing, and then the creatives did creatives, and never the twain shall meet, right? So I got out of there, went into a graphic design firm from this very well-known graphic designer called William Harold Wong and Associates. And it was there that, my eyes were open to really amazing quality of design work that was typographically based, right? So I grew to learn to love fonts and typography, and to appreciate the art of typography. So the early parts of my aesthetic training or my visual training came from there. And it was 18 months, and I loved every minute of it. And then I got seduced by one of the partners there to open a bookshop. And I'm a huge bookworm. So we opened a bookshop in Ampang Putri, called Wordsworth. And of course, it didn't do very well, because instead of selling books, I was buying them myself. Every book that I picked up, oh my God, I have to, I love this book. And so, pricing each book took 2 hours or even one whole day, because that's how long it took me to read the book. And in between that, I've always, I think BBGS inculcated in me a love of theatre. And especially my parents also, they both love music. And my dad's a huge Shakespeare fan, and he loves opera. My mom also loves opera. So I think an early appreciation of the arts was already instilled. And what I would do is I'd go to work during the day, and then I'd go to rehearsals in the evening and act, right? But it wasn't until I was asked to help out in a British Council play as a assistant stage manager that I kind of discovered, actually, I like managing plays better than I like acting in them. Because, unless you're a lead role, you spend a lot of time in the green room just eating, Malaysians, all the actors will come, bring food, and because you only spend, 20 minutes on stage in a 3-hour play, so what do you do with the rest? You just eat lah, and you sembang and you eat. So you have fun, but it does nothing for your waistline. And so I said, okay, I would help you do this play. And what happened was it was a British director, British technical director. And the technical director, then Raymond Cross, said, "Oh, anytime you want a job, just give me a call and I'll see what I can do." So I rang him and wrote him a letter. At that time, there was no, internet in that sense. Well, it was the beginning of the internet. And so he said, "Okay, I'm moving to a new theatre in Cambridge called the Cambridge Arts Theatre in UK, run by the Cambridge Arts Trust, which is part of the university." And so I ended up working there for almost 2 years under the operations department, learning how to furnish a newly rejuvenated theatre. And that theatre was started up by John Maynard Keynes. So if you're an economist, he is like the guru, the textbook that you have to read if you do economics, right? And he set it up because he married a Russian ballerina. And and it is the testament to love. That whole theater was a testament to love. And we had, the whole crew, we had so much fun setting it up. And I was one of two women in a six-man crew, 6-man/persons crew. And it was a joy, and I learned a lot. But the biggest impact of my life was learning about the importance of education in the arts. So they would use singing, drawing, visual and performing arts as a tool for education. And that really transformed and opened my eyes to the power of the arts, right? Besides freedom of expression and creativity, and because we also work very closely with people like Footlights, Cambridge Footlights. So Cambridge Footlights is very well known to be the starting platform for people like Emma Thompson, Dudley Moore, all the big, amazing British comedians that you know now. So the theatre had a very close relationship with the University, right, of Cambridge. And there was also an education department that said, let's start growing audiences. Let's not make everything so expensive so that, it's more inclusive. So I started learning about these, the narrative of inclusivity and diversity through arts and education. And I kind of kept that seed somewhere in here, and I kind of left it. And I came back and I immediately got a job at Leo Burnett. And that was another pivotal moment in my life because I was introduced to strategy, planning and strategy. And I never, I didn't really know what strategy was then. And then the strategy department opened up a brand consulting division. And I was, roped into that. And then I realized, wow, this is the power of, long-term thinking, of planning for anything. And I realized that there was more to strategy than just brand strategy. That's how I grew to to really understand or to explore strategy vis-a-vis the brand from an internal perspective, which is culture and change management. Right? And so when I left Leo Burnett, I started up a brand consulting firm to really look at changing culture in the corporations that would really look into how to make the workplace better for everyone, right? Because I had experience in a not so happy workplace, and I just thought, and that was when you saw a lot of self-help books about happy employees, happy company, and happy bottom lines, right? So I started really looking at that and created my own methodology to help employers and companies look at effective corporate cultures that looked after the bottom line in that sense. And so it meant working very closely with HR matters. So really looking about retention and attraction and acquisition, right? And so that then led to a call from Kazana to say that, we're doing this project for Georgetown. And it was called the Georgetown Transformation Program.
Correct.
And what had happened was that they had assembled a dream team, literally of city planners, urban designers. This was an international firm that had done multiple cities, and you had the conservators, you had Badan Warisan, you had the community representatives, you had Janet Pillay from Arts Ed, you had Lawrence Lowe. But the problem was the dream team didn't all agree on everything. And they were kind of like at loggerheads, right, about many issues. So the architect that was part of the team and that was project managing it brought me in to look at creating a narrative for the brand, for that project, to unify everyone together. And that was the first seed in me becoming a placemaker, you know. And so together, I facilitated a process that created a brand strategy for Georgetown. And so the language was then, instead of saying, I don't like this or we need this, it was, well, I don't like this because we want Georgetown to become vibrant and creative. And this step or this advice or recommendation will not take us nearer to that goal. Right? So the way you spoke about things became a bit less subjective and less personal, right? It was more towards, I had honed everybody towards thinking about the brand and the narrative. So from there, we were able to present it to Patla. We created a document and I led a video, 5-minute video creation, and Patla green lighted it, and then the program got funding, which then led to the formation of Think City. Right. So, and that was 2008, 2009. And then Think City did so well. This is without me. They did amazingly well in Penang, so much so that they were told, okay, it's time for you to expand to KL, to Butterworth, to Johor, right? And so they called me up and said, hey, you helped us with Georgetown Transformation Program. Why don't you help us create a larger brand for Think City so that we can expand globally, right? So that's what I helped create for them on a brand strategy point of view. And then it became, oh, would you like the job to head Kuala Lumpur office and rejuvenate Kuala Lumpur? And then I went, seriously? Right? And so, and the biggest thing that I shall always respect Hamna Abdul Majid, who became my boss then, who said, you know what, I think you have the right drive, and you have, you know, and because of your many years as a member of Badan Warisan, which is the Heritage Trust of Malaysia, you also have that care for built heritage, right? So I think that you'd be a good person to look at rejuvenating an old heritage quarter in Kuala Lumpur. And I will hire the architect for you. I would hire the rest of the people who are skilled in urban planning, urban design, but they need a leader who understands what KL means. And so that led me to 5 years until end of 2019. And in between, we were meeting people like Fred Kent from Project for Public Space, Ethan Kent from Project for Public Space, and they were the first people to coin, well, Fred Kent coined the term placemaking in the 90s. And they came and taught us what it was all about, placemaking. And then we went to meet other placemakers in the world. And it just clicked that like, oh, actually what I've been doing is called placemaking. You know, it took a while, it took about 2-3 years for it to really sink in to say, wow, okay, this is placemaking in its entirety. And really, even after I left, I said, no, it's too important an agenda. We've already created it and started it. Let's continue it. And I was very, very lucky to have the ear and the support for Datin Noraida, who is now the current president of Malaysian Institute of Planners, along with Imran Clyde, Datin Masrina of MIP, and Anne Loads. And we decided, let's start Placemaking Malaysia. So we called Think City in and said, let's form this association called Placemaking Malaysia. And with the goal of perhaps having one placemaker in every town council in Malaysia. And so that's where I am now, right? And we launched it on January of this year. And the committee of 9 people, 80% are planners. And, Imran is from the communication world, and I'm from the communication world. So I think it's a really lovely marriage. And so now what we're trying to do is grow membership and also then advocate for the movement that is placemaking in Malaysia as well as in Asia.
Just to, before it runs off my head, Imran used to also be in Leo Burnett, is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
He was in PR.
I think I met him like 15 odd years ago. Yeah.
Yes,
small world.
Yes, very
okay.
small.
There are a couple of things I wanted to ask, but the story was so compelling that I didn't want to interrupt you. Very quickly, favorite book?
Oh gosh. Favorite book? I have too many. There's one by Anne Fadiman. It's about books, really. Favorite books, top 3. Winnie the Pooh, The Tao of Pooh, and The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Nice. Theatre play?
So it would have to be this play called Elsinore, and it was a play about Hamlet, and it was created by this French Montreal famous director whose name escapes me right now.
Okay, great. Now you obviously spoke about placemaking and whatnot. For the benefit of our audience here, I think we obviously have heard of the word placemaking, but what does placemaking actually mean? How do you define it as it being placemaking to begin with? I suppose we really would value your input here.
Yeah. So placemaking is really about going in as a collective, right, of urban planners, urban designers, architects, and town planners to go in and see how collectively you can make it better. So the placemaker, and what is so amazing about placemakers is they are the bridge between the community and all the experts, right? So what they do is they represent the voice of the people, of the community on the ground. So it's very crucial for placemakers to know who is there, right? Whether it's business communities, migrant communities, or local communities, right? And what is the collective voice saying? What is the why? So I always talk about, what's in it for me? What is the why that they want to live there, that they are still there? Or what is the why that the place is not doing well anymore, which was what happened in KL Heritage Core? And why did people leave, right? So I always say that a placemaker holds the space for all these whys and tries to make sense of it in a way that is respectful of the place and the constituents that live there, the rakyat that live there, right? And I'm not talking about Malaysians. It could be anyone, residents, business, or otherwise, that are living and working there, right? And it's like a representative of that voice. And so a placemaker normally starts by asking the questions about, why do you like it here? Why do you hate it here? Why do you love it here? What would you love to see better, right? And then that's when you bring in the visionaries to say, okay, this is an ask list. And then you bring in the visionaries, and the visionaries say, okay, they want this, but what if I gave them 20 times better than that? So I always quote this saying by Henry Ford, who said that if I asked everybody what they wanted, they would have all told me they wanted a better, quicker horse. But he leapfrogged and gave them a car, right? So the role of the placemaker at its very beginning is to find out what the ask is, what is the collective wish list. And then the visionaries come in And then the visionaries will suggest. And the placemaker holding still to that ask list should have the wisdom to say, that's too big a leap. That's going to cause perhaps gentrification, which will remove all of these beautiful communities that are there making the place vibrant and active. Maybe you need to dial it down a few notches. So we literally we hold the voice for the community there, right? And so that's why when they say placemakers are event planners, that's not it, because it's just one of the things that you need to do, right? Like to make sure that the community meets and intertwines and networks and connects. But that's just one of the things. The biggest thing really is if you're doing a master plan or a rejuvenation of the city, the placemaker really is the person that brings it all together, brings all the people together, brings the ideas together, synthesizes all the thoughts, and then helps in the strategy to make things workable and livable.
Now, you spoke about the visionaries, you spoke about the people. I would assume all this would include, in some parts, the government as well, right?
Always.
Now, I suppose I'm just trying to give a different perspective of this, right? You've been doing placemaking for a long time now.
Yeah.
Where do you see that it's going wrong? Or perhaps let's start off the conversation with where are the success stories and where do you think you guys could have done better?
So where it's the realization that Think City purported a long time ago was you can no longer expect the government to do everything when it comes to city building and city maintenance. So a lot of things will need a new way of looking at city keeping and placekeeping, which looked at the collaboration and partnership, and we call this the bottom-up, top-down dance, where the bottom-up movement from the residents, from the community, will advocate for change, and they will inform the governments, local, federal, or state, what is working or what is a new idea, and inspire them to change policies or bylaws or rules in that sense. So in a lot of countries, let's just say in England, they have this thing called business improvement district schemes, whereby it's a regulation where all the businesses have to take a percentage of their profits or their earnings and plow it back into the BIDS, Business Improvement District Scheme. And the person selected to run it will then use those funds to clean, co-maintain, as well as do programming, right? Like events and things like that. So the cleaning and the maintenance, so let's just say council only has funds or time to pick up rubbish once a day, right? But actually there are areas where you need it twice a day. So these BIDS will pick up rubbish in the evening, and then it will also then invest in furniture and basically put out furniture for people to sit in places that are traditionally empty. So what they do is they activate. So this is what we call, how do you activate a space, right? And so there are different things depending on the need. So like if they say, well, there are lots of children in this area, fresh migrant children, families with children, and there's no playground. So what they'll do is they might even pop up a playground just to test, to see whether that playground has any use, right? So some of the things that have not worked out really well is, our every plan is almost alike. It has to have this playground, tick, this, shop house, tick. Yep. But sometimes it's not needed. And in areas where there are no children, you maybe don't need a playground, but maybe an adult park, right? But if we're not doing these type of engagement with the residents or the community, it's just going to stay the same. And so I think that what we have discovered, or I've realized, is that some of the bigger town councils are very afraid to engage because they're often in any engagement, they're often attacked. And nobody wants to invite attack, right? Everybody feels as if they're doing the best that they can. And so the placemaker comes in and says, let's come in with no judgment. Let's see all the things that aren't working quite well. And we do not blame anybody. This is just the way it has worked. And let's see how we can deconstruct, unpack, and then put it back together again, and what needs to happen. And of course, we always have the understanding that it's not going to happen soon.
Oh, yeah.
It will take a long time. But another thing that is a hindrance to that process is the constant change of leadership. So with any change, you need consistency and stability. And the biggest issue that our country has at the moment is we don't have two of it. Consistency, yeah, right? Nor stability in that sense of leadership. Right? And another thing that leaders often make the mistake of is when they come into a new office, they want to change everything because it's the fastest thing to tick on your KPI sheet. So the hardest thing to do is to swallow your ego and say, actually, the guy before me or the lady before me did this well, and I'm going to keep that. But what I'm going to do is this, right? And I think we need to have a conversation with leaders, especially government leaders, to say, can you look at reducing that ego, or that it has to be all about me and my achievement? And you really have to listen to the voice on the ground before you do anything. And I think that let's not talk about innovation and pivots. Let's talk about connecting as one human to another human.
With that last statement you made, do you think technology is somewhat of a hindrance these days to you talk about human connection, placemaking. I in my mind, I'm still thinking of it as a very physical, very togetherness. I need to be seeing you. I need to be touching you, but not in the wrong way. But you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But how is this playing out now?
So another issue that I see with technology is that we keep talking about smart cities. And we keep advocating for smart cities. I'm not against smart cities if smart cities understand all the whys that they're trying to solve. But I find that sometimes smart city agendas is another agenda, right? To change things that don't need changing, but can make money, right? And if you already have this profit making in mind, then you are already compromised with wanting that solution to actually solve a real problem. So I give you an example. We can have smart lights. We can have smart traffic lights. We can have detectors that Big Brother watching you and make places safer. But we have no toilets. Right? So what are you solving?
Yeah.
You've made the city safer, but not cleaner. Right? So I feel that sometimes when we talk about smart, green, leads, they're all in their little silos. And everybody's really happy to just, I created this innovation. I created this new form of thinking. But is this form of thinking really helping to solve and make the city better, is what I'm saying.
While Jia-Ping takes a water break, I'm just going to read out a question that an audience has just asked. I think you touched a little bit on it as well just now. So this is from Sharon. It says here, hi, as a placemaker, what are some of the beliefs or values that you hold close to your heart to do the work you do?
The community and the person who lives there is the expert. And you have to let go of, as much as possible, your personal agenda, your own expectations, and let them lead in a way that will rejuvenate a place for better. And so it cannot be just listening to one voice. You have to aggregate everybody's voices. And then with a collective wisdom, you will know, and there is no right or wrong, you will know perhaps the next best solution for the place. So you need to be a humanitarian in a sense that you need to really want to have whatever way that you propose be perhaps a win-win for everybody, right? So it can be something that the local government will accept, and it will also help the community. So that's one way.
Okay, thank you. And Sharon, I hope that answers your question for Jia-Ping. And thank you for the question. Jia-Ping, moving in. Okay, so we've spoke about placemaking in a you know, as in how you define it. I suppose could you give some examples of projects where, you know, that's the true essence of placemaking?
So before I joined Think City, I was working with the developers of Damansara Uptown, right? So I was called in to look at a change management project, starting with brand, looking at how to make the company much more attractive to a younger audience, right? Because it was a fast aging company. So we started with the same thing. What are your values? You know, they had values and we didn't change a single value, but we just increased the definitions. We made it more robust and made it more contemporary, right? The explanation of each value. And then we worked together with the HR. And then they said in another workshops, we had a series of workshops, we said, what would it take for young people to want to come to work here? Let's plot their journey. So we plotted the journey and I said, okay, so that is one journey. And what happens when they step into your office? What happens when they step into the car park? What happens when they start driving into your area? What are they seeing? So I then helped them wear the hat of this new person, this young, new graduate, you know, or someone who they wanted to attract someone who had overseas experience. And they started to see things that they didn't find very acceptable vis-a-vis the new brand that they wanted. They wanted a contemporary green brand. And they said, well, you know, the whole quadrangle area of Damansara Uptown is not very clean. And the traffic system is quite chaotic, right? This is in 2012 or the early 2000s. Sorry, the late 2000s. And so they also then heard back from some of the prospective clients who then said, you know, once I step into your building, it's lovely. But as soon as I step out, it is a chaos. So then they decided to then not just build the Starling, they transformed the pavements, the sidewalks.
Yes.
Transformed the whole road system, and they took over the maintenance of the place from the local council. And that is placemaking, right? So they created it, and now as part of placemaking, they do placekeeping, which is management of the place. So they collect the garbage, they clean, you know, because that's what they feel they need to do to make the place vibrant. And now when you go in there, it's, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's height of pandemic and everything's closed, it's spotless. I've got pictures of the place looking absolutely spotless. The traffic is much better. All right, it's still double parkers, but that's just a Malaysian attitude that you need to change. And they had another mall open at the same time next to them in a surrounding nearby neighborhood, and they're doing so much better than the other one.
Yes.
Right. Why? Because the place feels great and safe. And then they understood the whys of the people they wanted to attract into the Starling Mall. So it's really about connecting with you're a marketer. Why would anybody want to buy your product? Why would anybody want to come and live in your country? Why would anybody want to work in this place? If you understand the why, you understand it will guide you towards a much better solution.
Wonderful. You just opened my eyes to a simple example of what placemaking is really all about, and that's just refreshing. I've never seen it in that perspective. And while you were talking, there is a question. There is a statement here from Samuel. It says here, you speak of placemaking is tough in Malaysia. It kind of just end there, so I don't know if he is making a statement. Yeah, but
so if you believe it's tough, and so sure that there is some form of you do need to put in the hard work, right? But if you say tough equals impossible, then that's your reality. And if you choose to accept it, then so be it. Then there are people who are placemakers who are very optimistic. And, even if you don't get to 100% of where you want to be, even by starting on the journey, you would have affected some kind of hope and change. And I talk about this whole thing about planting and seeding hope into every area that we work in. So as an example, who would have thought Think City could have done what it did? No, nobody. But it took two visionaries, Tan Sri Azman Mokhtar, right? And Hamdan Abdul Majid, and the board of directors there to then say, let's not talk about it, let's just do it, right? But we back it up with research. So they always call it the evidence-based planning. And then we also back it up with placemakers, right? And so I'll give you an example. When we opened up in Kuala Lumpur, all the grant applications that I was getting was from the arts community, right? From the performers. And then there were a few people wanting to do this and that and have rehearsals. And I said, I really, from the arts background, I really welcome them. But arts alone is not going to solve all the problems of this city. Because the city was emptying out to all the other suburbs, right? So Asians generally like new things, right? And the shop houses were old, your plumbing doesn't work. So you can't blame them for wanting to move to a better place. And so then, but what was happening was a lot of the empty shop lots were being overtaken by migrant communities or owners that would cram seriously too many migrants into a very small living space, right? And so what would happen is that it would really hasten the degradation of the space because this one mattress for 3 people on an 8-hour shift, right? And then the toilets weren't working. And so there is no law to make sure that all owners of buildings that rent them out have to ensure that their toilets are working. So then they would then defecate in the city, on the streets. And then you have the local government and the federal government spending a lot of money cleaning up effluents from the Klang and Gombak rivers. But again, because they haven't looked at the toilets that are not working, effluence is still going into the rivers from the streets. So this is what I mean by the silos. So what we did was we just highlighted it to the government. What the government then does, it really is up to them because we are not the local municipal government. So that's one. That's one where you say the issue is so big that you can only highlight. The second one is then you ask yourself, what are the small things that we can do to seed hope? So the first thing we did was we did small park transformations. We got pieces of land and we reimagined them, right? With landscape architects like Siksan. And suddenly people are like, oh my goodness, you did this? We created a little forest in the middle of the city. Oh, wow. And then we then also then started to have a economic business grant to attract new entrepreneurs back into the city, right? And suddenly the third generation of owners of these shop houses, or the second generation, started to say, hey, there's value in our old dilapidated property, Zhongshan. Let's use this grant to fight for the case of rejuvenation to our seniors, which is exactly what APW did, right? So Yi Sun Wei applied for a grant. We gave, and with that, he was able to convince his uncles and his parents that changing or pivoting the space was economically viable. So this is what we call small grants, right? Hope. You seed hope. And then you see what people do with that pieces of hope. And it becomes this catalytic effect, right? So, and then we attracted from there Rex KL. There was no grant given to Rex KL because they were still figuring out their business model and things like that. And then it started attracting other people, right? And so from a hopeless situation, we started telling people, actually, you just need to use your voice, either as a private owner towards your family or as a local citizen to say, hey, I also can submit ideas for a park. Or, hey, I also can help volunteer clean up. Or, hey, I also can help paint a wall. And that's the beauty of placemaking is it gives your ordinary citizens a voice. And it's a non-political voice.
Yeah.
But it basically says every voice matters. And every voice counts. And whether you want to use it or not, it's entirely up to you. But we give you a platform to channel that voice into something and come with us on the journey. That's what it is.
Beautiful, amazing. Alexi has a question here on the chat box, which was also in my mind when you were talking about placemaking. You spoke about it being in Penang, in KL, and in JB. Alexi's question was placemaking. Are there plans for placemaking in rural towns or communities? And that's what I had in mind as well. We talk about the big cities. What about the
So, the people that are most excited about placemaking when I talk to local councils are those that work in smaller local councils. Because when you come from a small town or a smaller town, you are much more connected to the ground, right? It's only when you come to the big cities that the disconnect happens on a multiple major scale, right? And you see this disconnect becoming one of the causes for global climate crisis. Because once you disconnect from your person, your neighbor, you start disconnecting from your food chain. You don't know where your food comes from. You think everything is dispensable. You think everything comes very easy, and you forget the chain that leads all the way to your dining table, or where does your waste go. You disconnect because you don't see where it goes and the harm that it causes. But if you live in a small town, you see everything. Because it's all within, you can drive to, and everybody knows everybody.
Everybody, I was just going to say that.
Right? And so they immediately get it. So when placemakers talk about connections and communities and making sure, from your pakciks to your adeks, are connected, they get it, right? The biggest issues of mental well-being, or the threat to mental well-being, is disconnect from your community. So if you think about it, in the old kampongs, everything is on one plane, one ground, flat, right? And then your everybody cuts vegetables or prepares food together in a wakaf, or someone tumpangs under the house for shade, or the children are playing and the next door makcik can look out of the window and keep an eye on the kids. Then they come to the big city, they are moved into boxes on multiple levels, disconnect. They cannot see what is happening on the ground, right? And they start fighting with everybody, because when you are disconnected, everything becomes precious. You lose that sense of what's mine is everyone's, that community, Yeah. And so smaller towns, so where I'm taking this is 2 smaller towns, right? This message is, I'm hoping to do a program that will get together an expert panel through Placemaking Malaysia to then say to smaller towns, submit a park that is underutilized, or a piece of land that is underutilized, and maybe we open it up to the public to reimagine it, and then we will help you build it. So placemakers don't just talk about concepts, they make things happen, right? Because their ultimate boss is the community, really. Yeah.
Wonderful. And with that, Jia-Ping, we are reaching the tail end of our conversation. I just want to get your thoughts, or parting words, I suppose, for youths who are listening in, and even for adults, across all ages. It is the Merdeka Month. We are a couple of days away from Merdeka, from celebrating our National Day for those of our audience from around the world. Any message you would like to
I would say don't give up hope. I know it feels bleak to some at the moment, but it took us many years to get here, right? To get to where we are now politically. And so use the city, your neighborhood, as a vehicle for voice. Use your voice, use your hands to clean up, to make your neighborhood better, to fight for a better environment for all, or the planet. Just do what you can from where you are, right? Because staying silent and sulking in the corner is not an option anymore. Or feeling sorry for yourself and the country is not an option anymore. We all need to act, get out there and do something. If you don't know how, join Placemaking Malaysia. If you want to become a permanent member, or a yearly member, just private message us on Facebook, Placemaking Malaysia, and we will send you a membership form, which will make you an associate member of the Malaysian Institute of Planners, right? Who house Placemaking Malaysia. Come to us with ideas on how you want to improve, perhaps, even your wakafs, even, your paddy field, playground areas around your paddy field, around your farms. What can you do in a lot of rukun tetangga spaces that are left empty? Yeah.
Jia-Ping, very timely when you just mentioned this, because a question also popped in as I was trying to wrap up. Are community gardens considered placemaking? So there are a lot of all these things right now. I believe you were also involved in a project together with Siksan.
Kebun Bangsa.
Kebun Bangsa, yes. And in my constituency, somewhere near Hatamas, there is also one that recently pop up as well,
Yes.
right
So
opposite Publica on the other side. So are these considered placemaking?
yes, because they are attempts on making places do more than what it's doing now, right? And it's attempt anything that brings communities together. We call it placemaking. Some people might say it's tactical urbanism, where small groups of people decide to do something and take over a place. So what we would like to call it placemaking because a lot of it is done with either permission. I think that the Hatamas people were inspired by Kebun Bangsa, which has now become a refuge for a lot of people going a bit crazy, being cooped up in the lockdown, right? So it offers a place of respite for mental wellness. The food that they have been planting goes to feed the bottom 40, the urban poor. And they have raised also a lot of money themselves, Kebun Bangsa, to contribute towards food aid. Right? So once you get them together, the power of the collective takes over, becomes this life of its own, you know. And again, the whole thing is it must be led by community-minded or community-spirited people. And it's not something that they run out of their own agenda. Right.
Wonderful, Jia-Ping. And with that, I would like to say a big thank you to you for spending your valuable afternoon with us and imparting so much of knowledge on placemaking, especially. And of course, Jia-Ping's contact details are available on the platform. She can be reached there, but she's also mentioned about Placemaking Malaysia's Facebook page. So do get on there and connect with them if you want to know more about placemaking, especially in Malaysia. Jia-Ping, once again, on behalf of the team, I would like to say a big thank you to you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
And one last thing, happy birthday in advance. I understand your birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes. So our Rejuvenate audience, celebrating it with you, of course.
Thank you so much.
All right, I hope you stay safe and stay well and do take care and we will catch up again, obviously. Be it online or obviously I hope that it's not online anymore. That means that the situation improves in Malaysia and we are able to go out safely.
Yeah, for Teh Tarik, let's do it.
Yes. All right.
All right.
See you then. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aru. I am one of the researchers and co-founders at Climate Action Malaysia, which is a climate justice movement here based in Kuala Lumpur. I would like to wish everyone Happy Nationals Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Greetings all, it's Conso Titus here from Melbourne, Australia. Just dropping a short little video message here to my friend Andrew Tai and all his colleagues at Synapse at the Malaysia's premier virtual event solution provider. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan to all of you. Wishing you all a safe, healthy Malaysian Independence Day on the 31st of August. Please take care of each other and enjoy all the Independence Day celebrations. See you soon.
Hello all, this is Craig Langley. I run a global business development agency based near London, and I'd just like to wish everyone a very happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hi everyone, my name is Ria Eichmann. I'm a global skills coach and an intercultural trainer based in Brisbane, Australia. I would like to wish you all a happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hello everyone, my name is Teddy Swapchaba, CEO at Inpid Circular and Sustainable and founder at SO, based in Oslo, Norway. I would like to wish you a wonderful national celebration. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hey everyone, Tyler Chin here, interview coach and founder of Transform Cultures. Just want to stop by and wish all my fellow Malaysians a selamat menyambut Hari Kebangsaan. Stay safe everyone and hope all is well with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Siobhan Hassan. I am a transformational life and leadership coach based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I would like to take this opportunity to wish Malaysians everywhere a happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Happy National Day, Malaysia! Selamat Hari Kebangsaan. I'm Serena, founder and CEO of Care Bear, a mental health technology startup and social enterprise based here in Hong Kong, where we alleviate depressive symptoms among youth. I hope all of you prosperity and most importantly, good health, and I wish you guys all the best. Bye!